Oh boy, guys, Borntostandout has 3 new fragrances that I'm going to talk to you about today. In fact, if you caught my mystery box drop recently, we sold 375 mystery boxes. One of the samples of the 3 fragrances from Borntostandout was featured in it. Some of you might have your kits and some of you might be getting them just now. Sugar Addict was featured in mystery box. And today I'm going to talk to you about not only Sugar Addict, but we also have a fragrance called Sin and Pleasure, this one right here, and then finally Dirty Heaven. So the fragrances are sold at Ministry of Scent in San Francisco. So if you are in town, you can go there and check out the fragrances. But if you're curious to find out about these 3 new fragrances, the latest from Borntostandout, then please stay. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sebastian. We're talking about Borntostandout fragrances. I've already done 2 fragrance review videos on this house. This is the 3rd one, and perhaps we'll do another one because guess what? They have 3 or 4 new fragrances that are going to launch sometime next month as well. But with the most unique names. Don't you like the names of this house? Sugar Addict? I love it. I love the name, and it is a sweet, sugary fragrance. Sin and Pleasure? Great name. But they have great names like Fig Porn, Drunk Lovers, so many different unique names and great fragrances as well. There is a DNA going throughout the fragrances, especially with these 3 and the past releases. So what happened was when the brand first launched, they worked with Firmenich perfumers. And with these 3 new fragrances, they are now working with Flair perfumers. And the perfumers are Anne-Sophie Behaghel, and also we have Amelie Bourgeois with Sin and Pleasure. The other perfumer I'm not too familiar with, but these 2 perfumers I am, especially Amelie Bourgeois, whose name keeps coming up. And I recently did a video on another brand, a smaller niche house from France called Les Eaux Primordiales. Their fragrances are also sold at Ministry of Scent. So if you are in town, go check them out or just go visit their website. I have them linked in the info box. But if you are familiar with Borntostandout, do let me know. But let's go ahead and get started with the first fragrance. But before I do that as well, let me know if you've already gotten your kit and what you think of Sugar Addict, if you've already sampled it. Remember, it's sort of a advent calendar theme, the mystery box right there. So you can do 1 fragrance a day, or you don't have to do the advent calendar theme. But Sugar Addict is a fragrance created by Anne-Sophie Behaghel. Features notes of sugar, cocoa, tonka beans, vanilla, cinnamon, rum, labdanum, coffee, and cashmeran. So I got to sample these 3 fragrances at Petit Fragranza back in September. Quite excited about Sugar Addict and also Sin and Pleasure. Those 2 are definitely my favorites of the 3. The 3rd one, I'll tell you about the 3rd one, but I was excited that I got to meet the brand. Unfortunately, they came here to San Francisco during my trip, and they did a boutique show at Ministry of Scent, and they had a pretty big turnout because the store carries the brand. Always really enjoying the fragrances. There's definitely, like I said, a DNA running throughout the fragrances, and a powdery is also king here. But with Sugar Addict, it's definitely that creamy, soft, sweet, boozy, cinnamon, spicy gourmand. But with this one, it's a skin scent. So it sits close to the skin, but with great longevity, especially if you put it on clothes. The times I tested this fragrance, I was actually testing this fragrance out not only to do this video, but also to decide which of the 3 fragrances I was going to feature in Mystery Box. Turned out it was going to be Sugar Addict because it's my favorite of the 3. It does sit close to the skin, but really great longevity. When you wake up in the morning and let's say your dirty clothes are somewhere nearby your bed or somewhere when you're walking past them, you can still smell the fragrance on it. It has really, really great longevity. It's a sweet fragrance. It's used to wear on its own as a skin scent or something very personal with great longevity, or you can use it to sweeten up other fragrances, enhance other fragrances. And these are the kind of fragrances I really like because I like playing mixologist with fragrances, and I like to take one fragrance and another one, combine them to create something very original and unique that not a lot of people have gotten their noses on, because you can do a couple of spritz of that fragrance and another, or 2 or 3 or 4 spritz of another, and then you got this really intoxicating combination there, and you wear it and people will be like wondering what you're wearing, especially the folks that really enjoy fragrances on other people. But this is definitely one of my favorites of the 3, definitely my favorite of the 3. I like its unique characteristic that you can do the sweetening up of other fragrances, because sometimes you might need a fragrance that needs some boosting up with the sweetness and also prolonging the life. Since this has really, really great, longevity with the way the fragrance wears, I think it's great to enhance it with something like an eau de toilette fragrance, because this is an eau de parfum parfum. I believe it's an eau de parfum. Yeah. It acts like even heavier than an eau de parfum, but again, skin scent, but great longevity. One thing I should say here with this one also, it does remind me of some fragrances like Jazz Club, Pavillon Rouge, Side Effect, and that kind of tobacco boozy fragrances. But a lot of people complain about Jazz Club from Maison Margiela. So if you like the idea of boosting that fragrance, making it last longer, this is definitely one that you should try. What I did was spray Sugar Addict, let it dry, and spritzed on top with Jazz Club. For me, the better of the two is for sure Sugar Addict. It's much more robust. It's intense. Smells really, really great. It's sugary. It's spicy. It's vanillic, a bit cocoa, chocolatey, lots of amber here, lots of amber, and cinnamony as well. I do enjoy the fragrances of Anne-Sophie Behaghel. If you haven't gotten your nose on any of her fragrances, definitely try. I've spoken about her here and there in various fragrance reviews, and she and Amelie Bourgeois, and I think the other perfumer is Margaux, Paih-Guérin. The three work together at Flair, and I think this firm does really, really great fragrances, especially Anne-Sophie Behaghel and Amelie Bourgeois, because I've seen their names come up quite a bit, and some of my favorite fragrances out there are some of the fragrances that they've created. They do really great work, and they did a great job here with Sugar Addict. I like this concept. As I said, I do like playing mixologist, and this is the kind of fragrance you can do that with. Again, it's pretty much a skin scent, very close to the skin, but with great, great longevity, and you can use it to enhance fragrances. As again, also, Jazz Club is one of the fragrances I tested with, but if you have a vanilla fragrance that you think you need some enhancement, you need, longevity with, spritz this on. This is going to be your base, because this does last a long time. You're basically trying to prolong the life of a bad performing fragrance. So this goes on, let it dry, then spritz the other fragrance on and see what magic it develops. Anyway, great fragrance here. Sugar Addict. I think it's the best of the three that have launched recently from this house. There are 3 or 4 new ones coming. I'm excited for those too, with really great names. I couldn't believe how great the names are of the new fragrances. I don't think I can talk about them here, but stay tuned for those 3 or 4 new fragrances that are, I believe, dropping sometime in December. But hopefully you guys got your nose on Sugar Addict. And if you've gotten your mystery box and have sampled it, do let me know what you think about it. And do you like the idea of the fragrance sweetener? See, on the bottle, it does say fragrance sweetener. So really fun concept, right? Do let me know. Add a comment down below. But moving on, we've got Sin and Pleasure, created by Amelie Bourgeois. And so again, Amelie Bourgeois fragrances I really enjoy. And she's also doing fragrances for Les Eaux Primordiales. I mentioned earlier, the brand is also sold at Ministry of Scent. So if you're in town, go check them out, because I'm really in love with Les Eaux Primordiales fragrances, and also Borntostandout. Sin and Pleasure has notes of vanilla, caramel, patchouli, oud, rum, white flowers, sandalwood, almonds, ylang-ylang, leather, oakmoss, white musks. So totally different fragrance here compared to Sugar Addict. This is definitely a gourmand, but you definitely notice the oud and the patchouli. So these notes are going to tone down the gourmand qualities here. You got vanilla, caramel, rum, and also almonds here. So those are the gourmandish notes, but almonds is less for sure. Mostly this is about the vanilla, caramel, and the rum, and then the patchouli and the oud kind of tones it down. There's some floral touches for sure that comes in. Of course, it does get woody, and some floral touches and a bit of leather does come in as well. But for me, this fragrance is mostly about the vanilla and caramel and the rum with the patchouli and oud. And it's a nice combination. It does tone it down. Some of you might not be into very sweet, sugary fragrances like Sugar Addict. You want some depth and woodiness, some earthiness added to it, and you get that with the patchouli and the oud. And with these two notes, the oud is not quite funky, not quite animalic, but some of you might be sensitive to it. So test this one out before. I had a very easy time wearing it. I like that balance, the patchouli oud on this side, the gourmand notes on this side. So it does really balance out the fragrance and makes for kind of like a gourmand-like fragrance, you know? And here's the other thing with the Sin and Pleasure. Sometimes I do want a little more sweetness with this. And guess what I did? I layered it with Sugar Addict. And with this combination, it works really, really great, because Sugar Addict has the vanilla, it has the boozy note of rum, and there's rum in here as well. And it was almost like it was made to be layered or enhanced or sweetened up in this case is what they're calling it. It's a fragrance sweetener. So when you add the Sugar Addict first and then spritz on Sin and Pleasure on top, it does create for a more sweeter effect. The vanilla is amplified, the sweet notes are amplified, the rum and the booziness is amplified, and it tones down the kind of the patchouli oud note. And in fact, it makes it a lot more gourmand and a little more enjoyable, a little more sweet and, you know, delicious kind of dessert-like and boozy-like in this case with the fact that you're adding the Sugar Addict. On its own is really great, but I do prefer the Sugar Addict, not only because it's the enhancer, sweetener kind of thing, but also it's just a very unique idea with that fragrance. I haven't seen that before, a fragrance sweetener, but with the fact that you can layer these two together, it makes for a really fun experience and a fun wear. Again, check out the fragrances of Amelie Bourgeois. This is a one that she created for Born to Stand Out. I'm wondering who creates the fragrances for the next Born to Stand Out fragrances, because I'm really, really curious. These are really fun. The only thing I forgot to mention also, the fragrances of Born to Stand Out are really on the powdery side. Very dry, very powdery, except for Sugar Addict. Sugar Addict does have that sticky, syrupy, ambery, molassesy effect, but the other two fragrances here are not quite. All right, the third and final fragrance is Dirty Heaven. And again, I don't know this perfumer as much as I do know the other two perfumers, Anne-Sophie Behaghel and Amelie Bourgeois. Margaux Le Paih-Guérin is a brand new name for me, but according to the Born to Stand Out guys, these three perfumers work all at Flair. So again, very unfamiliar with Margaux Le Paih-Guérin's work, but Dirty Heaven features notes of white flowers, tonka beans, vanilla, jasmine, gray amber, or most likely ambergris, ambroxan, saffron, neroli, white musks, and modern woods. So with this fragrance, I felt like there was something animalic happening here, and I don't know if they're using a real ambergris here or the gray amber, but I think it was creating a bit of a funk in the mix. So there's definitely a bit of a funk coming up, a bit of animalic touch. And sometimes I've noticed that ambergris gets a bit smoky. There's a smoky dirtiness about it. And there is that kind of tinge in this fragrance that I'm experiencing something funky, animalic, smoky in here. And I believe it's coming from the gray amber note. Unfortunately, this fragrance turned out to be not my favorite of the three. As I already mentioned, my favorite is Sugar Addict, and also enjoying the Sin and Pleasure, this one right here. But I tried enhancing it with the Sugar Addict, but for some reason in here, I'm thinking it is the gray amber. Like I said, it could either be the real stuff or it could be an accord that's created to smell like the real stuff. It was so strong that even when I was enhancing it with Sugar Addict, I felt like that gray amber or ambergris was so strong, it was kind of like toning down all the sweetness in the Sugar Addict. So it wasn't really enhancing with sweetness in this one. But in the end, it's lots of white flowers and some vanilla comes in as well to sweeten things up. But again, this is, I think, out of the three, the driest, the powderiest fragrance between all of them. And I think also because it has ambroxan, and ambroxan creates this dry effect in fragrances. It's ambery, it's woody, it's musky, it's a bit aquatic, but very much on the dry, dusty, powdery side. So the entire fragrance is a really, really dry, powdery fragrance, but very much so. It does have that animalic funk in here, most likely from the gray amber. I experienced lots of white flowers. Lots of jasmine comes in here as well. Some leathery touches do come in. It does get a bit musky for sure. And then there are the, woods that are in there hiding under there as well. But mostly it's about the flowers, tonka, gray amber, vanilla, and jasmine here for me. That's basically what it is about. But again, as I said, this one's not my favorite. It might be your favorite. I wonder if you've already tried it. I do like the name Dirty Heaven. And again, I'll keep trying with Sugar Addict. As I said, I've tried several times. It just didn't accomplish it. I felt like Sugar Addict is really strong, but against Dirty Heaven, I guess it's not that strong because it was toning down Sugar Addict and all I got was the gray amber or ambergris with the white flowers and vanilla and jasmine in this. That's basically what it was doing. It was toning down the sugary sweetness of Sugar Addict. But either way, I think they're nice fragrances. Again, I prefer Sugar Addict and Sin and Pleasure. Dirty Heaven didn't go much anywhere for me. It's not a fragrance I would like, hey, I want that fragrance. I want to wear it. I can't get enough of it kind of a thing. But who knows? I might come back to it and enjoy it later, but I don't think so. But between the three, it's Sugar Addict, Sin and Pleasure, then Dirty Heaven. But the brand has a lot of different fragrances. They're also that Ministry of Scent. I have a link to Ministry of Scent in the info box. You can go check out the fragrances there. And hopefully you got to pick up your Scent Club mystery box and let me know what you think about it. And let me know what you think about all the fragrances, not only Sugar Addict. And if you do enjoy Sugar Addict, let me know. Do use it as an enhancer. I think it works really, really fun, especially when I tried it with Jazz Club by Maison Margiela. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.